Yeah, I'm coming, yeah. Probably in the lounge. Okay, question now. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram. Hare Ram.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thanks.
Just getting bombarded.
Thank you, sir.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare
So you disable one of them? Okay.
Well, supposedly it's the right one that's giving us the problem, so I disabled it.
Let's see what it is.
Bhakti, have we talked about Bhakti?
We're working on it.
Dr. Bob?
Yeah, Bhakti We've got some, has some really nice Bose speakers at his house
Oh.
that we can put in here. He's already offered us once, but at the time we didn't need them, and I think we should do it now.
Probably should have accepted them at the time.
Just put them in the storage if we need them.
All right, now this. All right. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Kunja Vihari Kunja Srimad Divine Grace, Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada. Paramahansa Pratipacharya, Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnava ki Jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Asamaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the Assam of the Buddha.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the Assam of the Buddha.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the Assam of the Buddha.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Shri Guru and
All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gaura.
Bhakti. Can I tell you to go get the verse?
Yeah, I was just thinking,
You
is the
wrote
verse being
it's
written?
No.
Say? Go get it.
It's already. Oh, he's getting it. Okay. Narayana Namaskritya
Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayadiri.
Jayadiri.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of compass, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the Supremest Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtapraya Shabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhakti Naishtaki. For regular attendance and classes on Srimad Bhagavatam by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed or most nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord who is glorified in transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 On this 19th day of May 2017 in SanDiego, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Yeah.
And we are still in Canto 3, entitled The Status Quo, Chapter 23, Devahuti's Lamentation. Text number 8. Anye Puna Bhagavato Brava Undajrimbha.
Anye Puna Bhagavato Brava Undajrimbha.
Vibram Siddhartha Rachanaka Marukramasya.
Vibram Siddhartha Rachanaka Marukramasya.
Siddhasi Bhungsha Vibhavani Jadharma Dohan.
Siddhasi Bhungsha Vibhavana Jadharma Dohan.
Divyan Nirartha Radhikan Nirpavikriyan Bihi.
Divyan Nirartha Radhikan Nirpavikriyan Bihi.
Anye Punar Bhagavato Bruvadudvijimha.
Anye Punar Bhagavato Bruvadudvijimha.
Vibram Siddhartha Rachanaki Marukramasya.
Vibram Siddhartha Rachanaki Marukramasya.
Siddhasi Bhungsha Vibhavani Jadharma Dohan.
Siddhasi Bhungsha Vibhavana Jadharma Dohan.
Divyan Nirartha Radhikan Nirpavikriyabihi.
Divyan Nirartha Radhikan Nirpavikriyabihi.
Anye Punar Bhagavato Bhuva Udvijrimbha.
Anye Punar Bhagavato Bhuva Udvijrimbha.
Vibram Siddhartha Rachanaki Marukramasya.
Vibram Siddhartha Rachanaki Marukramasya.
Siddhasi Bhungsha Vibhavani Jadharma Dohan.
Siddhasi Bhungsha Vibhavana Jadharma Dohan.
Divyan Nirartha Radhikan Nirpavikriyabihi.
Divyan Nirartha Radhikan Nirpavikriyabihi.
Anye Punar Bhagavato Brahma
Anye Punar Bhagavato Brahma Udvijrimbha.
Vibram Siddhartha Rachanaki Marukramasya.
Vibram Siddhartha Rachanaki Marukramasya.
Siddhasi Bhungsha Vibhavani Jadharma Dohan.
Siddhasi Bhungsha Vibhavana
Dharma Dohan.
Divyan Narada Radhikan Vikriyabhi
Devyan Raduradikan Vikriyabhi
Anye punar bhagavato bruvadu udrjimba
Anye Punar Bhagavato Kruva Udvajrimba
Vibram sitartha rachana kimuru kramasya
Vibram Sitartha Rachan Kimarukramasya
Siddhasi buksvad vipavani jadharma dohan
Siddhasi Bhungsva Vipavan Dharma Dohan
Divyan naraduradigan nirvavikriyabhi
Divyandarayaduradigan Vikriyabhi
Anye punar bhagavato bruva udvijimba
Anye Punar Bhagavato Mruva Udvijrimha
Vibram siddhartha rachana kimarukramasya
Vibram Siddhartha Rachana Kimarukramasya
Siddhasi bhungsha vipavani jadharma dohan
Siddhasi Bhungsha Vibhavani Jadharma Dohan
Divya naraduradigan vikriyabhi
Divyandarayaduradigan Vikriyabhi Anye,
Anye
others. Punaha,
Punaha
again. Bhagavataha,
Bhagavataha
of the Lord.
of the Lord
Bhuvaha,
Bhuvaha
of the eyebrows.
of the eyebrows
Udvijimha,
Udvijimba
by the movement.
by the movement
Vibramshita,
Vibramshita
annihilated.
annihilated
Artha
Artharachanaha
material achievements.
material achievements
Kim, what use?
what use
Urukramasya,
Urukramasya
of Lord Vishnu,
of Lord Vishnu
far stepping.
far stepping
Siddha,
Siddha
successful.
successful
Asi,
Asi
you are.
you are
Bhukshva,
Bhukshva
enjoy.
enjoy
Vibhavan,
Vibhavahan
the gifts.
the gifts
Nijadharma,
Nijadharma
by your own principles of devotion.
by your own principles of devotion
Dohan,
Dohan
gain.
gain
Divyan,
Divyan
transcendental.
transcendental
Narai,
Narai
by persons.
by persons
Duradikhan,
Duradikhan
difficult to obtain.
difficult to obtain
Nripavikriyabhi,
Nirvriyabihi
proud of aristocracy.
proud of aristocracy.
Translation. Kardama Muni continued, what is the use of enjoyments other than the Lord's grace? All material achievements are subject to be annihilated simply by a movement of the eyebrows of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By your principles of devotion to your husband, you have achieved and can enjoy transcendental gifts very rarely obtained by persons proud of aristocracy and material possessions. Report. Lord Chaitanya recommended that the greatest achievement of human life is to achieve the grace of the Lord, love of God. He said, Prema Pumarto Maham. To achieve love of Godhead is the highest perfection of life. The same perfection is recommended by Kardama Muni to his wife. His wife belonged to a very aristocratic royal family. Generally, those who are very materialistic or who possess material wealth and prosperity are unable to appreciate the value of transcendental love of God. Although Devahuti was a princess coming from a very great royal family, fortunately, she was under the supervision of her great husband, Kardama Muni, who offered her the best gift which can be bestowed in human life, the grace of the Lord or love of God. This grace of the Lord was achieved by Devahuti by the goodwill and satisfaction of her husband. She served her husband, who was a great devotee and saintly person, with great sincerity, love, affection, and service, and Kardama Muni was satisfied. He willingly gave love of God, and he recommended that she accept it and enjoy it, because he had already achieved it. Love of God is not an ordinary commodity. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was worshipped by Rupa Goswami because he distributed love of God, Krishna Prema, to everyone. Rupa Goswami praised him as Mahavadanya, a greatly munificent personality, because he, the Lord, was freely distributing to everyone the love of Godhead, which is achieved by wise men only after many, many births. Krishna Prema, Krishna consciousness, is the highest gift which can be bestowed on anyone whom we presume to love. One word used in this verse, Nija Dharma Doma, is very significant. Devahuti, as the wife of Karma Muni, achieved an invaluable gift from her husband because she was very faithful to him. For a woman, the first principle of religion is to be faithful to her husband. If, fortunately, the husband is a great personality, then the combination is perfect, and the lives of both the wife and the husband are at once fulfilled. Om Jnana Tivaramrasya Jnanam Vinashalakya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So here Karma Muni is, after congratulating his wife and showing her great affection, he's explaining that what she will enjoy from her service is transcendental, is pure love for Krishna, the greatest gift. And here he makes a comment at the beginning of this verse. What are the use of other enjoyments besides the Lord's grace? They can simply be annihilated by a movement of his eyebrows. The idea is that anything else we may desire in this world is very ephemeral. It's passing away as we enjoy it. It's being destroyed, and our ability to enjoy it is being destroyed. So this comes up right at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, the second beginning, in the second canto, when Shukadev Goswami answers the famous question of Maharaj Parikshit: what should one hear about? What should one think about? What should one do as death is imminent? And it's clear, with a little thought, that death is imminent for all of us. We're really on that position. Parikshit was fortunate because he had this notice, so he could prepare. But we also have notice, and we should prepare also. And the answer is that one should absorb oneself in hearing and chanting as much as possible about the Supreme Lord. Tasmat sarveshu, tasmat bharata sarvatma bhagavanishvaro hari shrotavya kirtitamyasya smartavya chichitabhayam. Now the last phrase is interesting because it is cha ichitabhayam. If you want fearlessness at that time, and it's always fraught with fear as the end approaches, and it's certain to come, either immediately or in days or weeks or whatever you have. So that fearfulness can be evaporated, can be overcome actually by this formula. The verse begins with tasmat, and there's an argument there. He has a little syllogy, which is so important. It's right at the beginning. In other words, it's like one of these things where I say, okay, just like Prabhu put everything into the first canto, all we need there. There's so many wonderful lessons there. The Sutta Goswami's first dance to the sages in chapter 2, Kunti Dev's prayers, Bhishma Dev's prayers. There's a tremendous amount there right in the first canto. Even plus Prabhupada's purpose make it perfect and complete. So I always think, these the sages know that these Kali Yugites, they're always disturbed. So let's give it to them a full lesson, even if they just begin the second canto, they get some. So it begins with the praise of the question. The very question is important. It's key. What are you inquisitive about? So he says, "Vadiyana prashna katoloka tanva." That's some of the showed to the Ashaya Para. Vadiyan, very good. Vadiyan means very good. Vadiyana prashna is the best question, prashna, and it's approved by all transcendentalists. Why? Because the very question, which was when posed to a qualified speaker, will bring benefit to the speaker, the listener, and the listeners, those who are listening in. So, but then he says, on the other hand, and this is where he describes what Kardamuni is referring to here. Forgive me, I'm getting one of these famous cramps. Maybe I should go into your mode and sit on a seat. All right, I think I can hold on. So he says, Shotavyadini Rajendra, Ninan Santi Sahashita, Apashitam Atma Tattvan Viheshu Vidamedina. So the great Grihamades, those who are simply in household life for enjoyment, this is a Prabhupada's phrase, uncontrolled senses, going darker and darker into the ignorance. It's because they're chewing what has already been chewed. This is the vast majority of people. So they have millions of subjects. He says thousands, but that's it stands in for unlimited number. And for discussion, as Prabhu points out, everybody's asking questions. Even the bird is pecking around in your garden there, looking for the worm. Where's the worm? Where's the worm? You know, the Wall Street bankers, you know, they're, what's the price? What's the price? What's the price? I heard Prabhu give a lecture, you know, he's talking about what's the price of gold, and their minds are always absorbed in that. Can you imagine? People all over the country, all over the world, they envy these very wealthy people who are so successful at investing and so forth. But what do you think they have to think about all day? How to make more, how not to lose what they have, right? Prenuptial, so my wife who loves me so dearly may not turn against me and take all the money you have. It's a nightmare. So that's the questions. Now what's the quality of these people? 2 verses he describes the material life. Prabhupada said in the lecture he was referring to these verses that this is the described material life. So the first one is says, okay, how do they spend their days? At night. Nidriya priyatena. Vivayena chabhavaya. Diva chardeheya rajan kutumba paranena. This is it. Nighttime, sleeping away more than necessary. On weekends, as far as possible, sleep late. I used to get up at 12 on Sunday. I thought it was a great blessing when I was working. So, or, of course, nighttime, you can also have sex. So that's the 2 objects. During the day, working hard to chart day, and on the weekends, spending it going shopping to support the whole family. Kutumba baranena ba. Baranena means the burden. You know, the burden of the shopping. And how to protect all this? Well, we have soldiers. We have a defense department. So the first line of defense is on the body, keep it nice and healthy and strong, work out once a week at least. And then the relatives, extended family, the wife, the children, etc. You can make your own, you know, Rishad goes on a little more. Grihat Chaita Sudata Viptaya. So all of these are what he calls fallible soldiers. Better to feel completely helpless and to call out on the ward than to have a defense against the material energy that is fallible. You see, the false sense of security is there. And you so much want to be secure and put faith in these things that even though you see that historically in your own life, your own fathers died, your grandfathers died, you know, so the wife also died, the children. Where is there any security? But although seeing, you don't see. This is the key. Because your vision is so clouded by the lens of lust, desire, and greed, and illusion, and all these things, you don't see what's right in front of your face. So pashyana bina pashyati, very telling phrase. Although seeing physically, you really don't see. So then he says, I think that's the next verse is tasman vadu sarvama. Therefore, at the time of danger, one should hear about, chant about, and remember the Supreme Personality of God. He gives 4 designations. Sarvatma, the super soul in the heart. Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of God. Can you pull those curtains for me? Ishvara Hari, the Supreme Controller, and Hari. This is and since we don't know exactly when we're going to die, it means always and everywhere. This is another verse. Oh, always and everywhere. And then we can achieve the goal of life. Haribo Krishna, nice to see you. So then there's one of these Etavan verses. You may have heard that when you see an Etavan, beginning with Etavan, focus on that verse. It's often very kind of seminal. So he says, Etavan Sankhya Yoga Abhyam Sodama Parishtaya Janma Lava Korakongsan Bhutakalikavas. Ante Narayana Smriti. That's where that phrase comes from. Ante Narayana, this is one of these phrases you can remember just in itself. So whatever you do in terms of Sankhya Yoga, Sankhya or yoga or mystic yoga, or your dharma, your swadharma, working within Nibbana and ashram, very nicely, but you see, the test of the success of all of this is that which will make your birth fruitful, is to remember Narayan at the end of life. Now, so here's this complete lesson here by Shukadeva right at the beginning. Now here we find Karma Muni praising the fruit of all of this, the fruit of Devahuti's service. Because how to come to that point? Now he gives the ideal of this little lesson, this little Upanishad. Sometimes there's little Upanishads within the Bhagavatam. In the 87th chapter, there's one that's 2 or 3 verses long, described like that by our acharyas. In other words, a complete lesson in transcendental knowledge. So, how to come to that point of always hearing, chanting, remembering the Lord? It's not easy. We need a process. And that process has been beautifully outlined and defined by our acharyas, beginning with Rupa Goswami in his Nectar of Devotion. In that book, he gives the process, and he gives the result as well. He describes the varieties of rasa, the varieties of bhava and the prema in great detail there. And actually, it's part 1. Part 2 is Ujjvala Nilamani, where he goes into great detail in the Madhurya Ras, which is the exalted the most in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So the foundation, however, is come all the way back to seeing things as they really are, understanding first our own nature, and understanding. The first really question is, well, why am I suffering so much, and how can I mitigate it for good? How can I solve it? Is there an ultimate solution to these problems? Or I just have to, adopt the strategy of the ostrich and put my head in the sand and try to enjoy as much as possible in those years before the lion of death clamps her. And it's really no different. Everybody's leading this ostrich life. Even today, it's amazing to me because it's not a mystery anymore. We're facing so many existential threats as a species. The scientists who people revere, there's science that built this technological world, they're all saying it. It can't go on. Forget about nuclear war for a minute. That's also probably more immediately threatening. But this climate change is happening. Now, of course, when we look at the Shastra, we see, well, there's 427,000 more years of Kali Yuga. So everyone's going to start chanting Hare Krishna, right? They're going to be a 10,000 year. We don't see that, right? But the point is, the threat is real. From all views, the threat is real. Prabhupada talked about how mediating eventually will cause war. He talks about it in the Isha Upanishad, written in the 60s actually, at the height of the Cold War, when you don't remember, the old timers could remember a little bit. There was always this, background noise of like the threat of annihilation, Armageddon. I remember, to this day they have it. The concerned scientists, they have the magazine, and on the cover is a clock. And when it gets close midnight, it means they were heading toward apocalypse. So they have, it's 10 minutes, now it's 7 minutes now. It's like 2 minutes to midnight right now. At least, it used to be, it goes back and forth. So we lived through that. But what about how do you put it? The seemingly unstoppable increase of carbon dioxide that's making the planet uninhabitable. In my short 28 years here, the climate or the weather right here in SanDiego has changed radically. When I first arrived, the first few years, I remember I came at the end of July in 1989. And already it was a relief because I come from Miami. It was so hot and muggy, you practically couldn't stay outdoors. You know, air conditioning was a light saving, thing you had to have. So but it was nice and dry here, and it was moderate. You're right next to the ocean, And then came August and September, where it was like every day it was absolutely ideal. 72 to 76, no clouds in the sky. I said, wow, what is this? And then in December, January would come, there'd be some rains. It used to rain pretty heavy. I remember the roads would practically get a little flooded. There's a house back here that's a little lower. They have to have the sandbags. The one right behind the temple. So that was the way it went on. But in the last few years, all kinds of irregularities. 75 in the middle of January. It was last year. And this year, unseasonably cold, back forward. Then we had this drought going on for 7 years. This is part of what they're predicting. And when you get up north, it's even more radical. Alaska and the Arctic is going nuts up there. So the evidence is happening, but people don't want to believe it. If it's going to affect my lifestyle, if I'm going to have less money, if I have to make a sacrifice, no. So it's just like the blind leading the blind. So this is material life in a nutshell. On an individual basis, people have the same strategy. Nobody's facing the ultimate questions of life. They're trying to mitigate them. But they're not really asking an essential question, is there a complete solution to it? In other words, what's causing it? You can't find it out on your own. There's no way of understanding the soul, but to speak of God, by your own brain, no matter how big a brain you have. The biggest Western philosophers, they all screwed up. They came to the point of ultimately, nihilism. Can't understand. That's the big dispute. So here in the Bhagavatam, we have so many instances. What are the use of enjoyments other than the Lord's grace? And in his purport, Prabhu defines the Lord's grace as pure love of God. That's the greatest gift we can get. Grace means Krishna God is giving you good fortune. Most people think, oh, thank God, my cancer is in remission. Thank you. That pays off going to Sunday church for the last 40 years. That's not the grace of God. That's just your karma. So people don't understand. We need this knowledge. And he says, the greatest grace of God is not even liberation, but it's pure love for him. Which is a gift that he gives you. It's completely a gift. There's nothing that you can say, I'm going to do A, B, C, and D, and then I'm going to absolutely have it. No. All that we can do are those things which our acharyas, our teachers say, make it favorable, make us eligible to get the grace of God. But it's entirely up to him whether he's going to give it or not. We are just trying to become worthy vessels, of the mercy of the Lord. And that's really the attitude when you see, the great acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur and some of the others throughout the Bhagavatam. It's entirely up to you whether you want to save me or kill me, or you want to make as Prabhu so famously said, it's your project, Krishna, you brought me here for some reason, now it's up to you to make my power of speaking worthy so that they will enter their hearts and their hearts will be changed. Realizing our complete dependence and complete helplessness, that's a prerequisite. And you see that there's so many great transcendentalists that get to a certain point, but not quite to that point. The whole idea of worshiping God and being admitted into Vaikuntha, so you can have you can serve the Lord, but at the same time, you have your form, you get the four emblems. There isn't that intimacy, because there's a certain sense of dasya rasa, recognizing the greatness of the Lord, but that means that you're not loving him to the kind of intensity that we find in Vrindavan, in Goloka Vrindavan. And I was just thinking as we were chanting Jai Radha Madhava, this is really an ideal song. Every phrase in there recalls a different pastime. And all of them are on the level of pure love. You think about it. Jaya Radha Madhava, what could be more? That's the idea. Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari. So Krishna's playing in those kunjas, but he's not playing alone. He's playing with his friends, he's playing with the gopis. In other words, he's hidden all of the majesty and the power which will tend to distance, his worshippers and put them in that awe. The last thing he wants is the awe and reverence. He wants the intimacy. He wants the loving exchange. Gopi Jana Vallabha. Now, this is some of the phrases describe his love for them. Some describe their love for him. And this is Gopi Jana Vallabha means he is very dear to the gopis. They love him so much that Radha is described. Radharani, the tip of the toe, of the edge of his toenail, she regards more valuable 1,000,000 times than her own life. Just think of that. It's inconceivable. So Govindana, Giri Varadhari, perfect. His reciprocation with them. Right? Of course, there's many things that's going on there, but one of the things is he gave them 7 full days and nights to have his intimate association. And showing his love for them by saving them from this disaster. That was wonderful. There's so many dimensions to that one pastime. Yashodanandana. Yashodanandana. He was the beloved son of Mother Yashoda. So many, such heartwarming pastimes there. Where he completely hides any strength, so that she can feel that, if I don't feed him, he'll die. He's not wearing shoes. What's going to happen to his feet? All day she's in this anxiety of maternal affection. Just as thinking or seeing him, the milk starts to flow. The intensity of love is inconceivable. And so he's evoking that. He likes that more than anything. That's what Krishna desires. That's the only thing he craves. Is the loving emotions in all varieties from his devotees. He lives for that. Raso Vaisa. Braja Jana Ranjana, and he delights all the residents of Braja with his varieties of pastimes. The elder gopis, I don't like them, elderly gopis, elder gopis, they come and complain because he's always going in and stealing the butter and causing a mess, And when he can't get butter, he goes and he pinches the little baby infants who are sleeping until they cry and yell and cause trouble to the mother. He passes stool and urine in a clean place. It's right in the Bhagavatam. So this is Krishna evoking the most delightful emotions from his elder gopis. So Brajajana Ranjana and his friends also, he has that special relationship. So Yamuna Tiramanachara, and in the forest he's enjoying in the groves on the forest on the bank of the Yamuna with the gopis, with his friends. It's a wonderful meditation. It evokes the real mood of Vrindavan. So that's the grace of Krishna. The real grace of Krishna, now, it comes in installments, really. Because just to, have the inspiration, just to meet somebody who encourages you to chant Hare Krishna and gives you a mantra card and a little book, that was printed for 20 cents and he's asking you for $1, but it's the most valuable thing that you could ever chant and be happy, or, perfected yoga, or anything. They all have the same knowledge. That's the grace of Krishna coming through that devotee, and giving you Prabhupada's association. We should always remember that. Is that the greatest value we can have is a moment's association. Tulyam alavenapi. This is a verse everyone should know. 3 times in the Bhagavatam it appears. Tulyam alavenapi nasvagam naparam pavam bhagavat sangi sangasya bhartyanam vibhudashisha. So tulyami means equal. It says, all of these things that you're going to say are not equal to even a lava, a split second of association with the Bhagavat Sangi, a Bhagavat Sangi. A Bhagavat Sangha is someone who's associated with Bhagavan all the time. In other words, a pure devotee of Krishna, who's associating through remembrance and service. That's association. So Bhagavat Sangi Sangha, the association of the associates of the Lord, of a pure associate of the Lord. So what cannot be compared to it at all? Swarga, heavenly planets, live for the thousands and thousands of years enjoying Nandana gardens. No, it's not completely. Apavarga. Swarga means liberation. Those who know, they forget about heaven. Liberation is much more valuable. No more birth, no more death. And then the last thing, Martyanam Gamatari, what to speak of anything that's going to be destroyed by death. In other words, any material benediction up to the highest thing. Gamatashasha. So, why is that? Because from that association, you can get the grace of the Lord. Krishna's not going to come down here personally, in his original spiritual form and give us his darshan right now. That happens once every day of Brahma. And we just missed it. Mere 5,000 days ago. Nothing. But we missed it. But that doesn't mean we can't get the association of the Lord through the association of his devotees. And they're so merciful. They come out, they, canvas, part of the canvas, somehow or other to get the attention of the conditioned souls focused on Krishna and awaken that dormant interest, that inquiry. The start of that's all the grace of Krishna. So the real job we have is accepting the grace. It's just like someone gives you a piece of Mahaprasadam, and there's a very important, how you respect that Mahaprasadam. It has to be respected, and it should be taken as soon as possible and relished. And you should understand, this was tasted by the Lord Himself on the plate. How wonderful! What a great blessing. And that's the attitude. So we'll be giving prasadam all the time. Prasadam just doesn't mean something to eat, but it means the gift of Krishna that brings us closer to Him, that purifies. Because the wonderful thing about this Krishna prema is that it's already there. It's not something that we have to. It's not something artificial we bring from outside. If you want to become an Olympic dancer, or Olympic gymnast, well, you may have the potentiality, but it's not something that's innate in you. You have to work like crazy to train, and go through so many, and then even after all that, you probably won't succeed. But Krishna consciousness is already there. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kavavan. Shavanadi Shuddha Chitte Kariya. It's another key verse. This eternal perfection of prema is not something that, in this particular context, the word sadhya means something to gain from outside. Shavanadi Shuddha Chitte. By the process of hearing, etc., adi, chanting, worshipping, all 9 processes, but mostly hearing and chanting. By the purification of the heart, kariya udoi, it naturally awakens. So isn't that encouraging? It means from the highest to the lowest. This is why Krishna consciousness is for everybody. Doesn't matter your social standing, your birth, your gender, your age, anything. If you can engage in hearing and chanting, and basically those two, then you're perfectly eligible to get to the highest perfection of life. But taking up that process seriously, that is up to us. That is where we come in. To take the mercy of Krishna, the grace of Krishna, and see it for what it is, and then, just like a smart investor, to invest our time, our energy, our faith in the process of Krishna consciousness, that we're assured by the acharyas will bring us along on the path. Adharshana tadaksava sangha. Association. Association is everything. The mind is just like this Vaidurya stone that it's colored according to what's near it. Yeah. And so who you associate with, what you associate with, will either degrade you or exalt you. So therefore, find out the devotees. And not just any devotees, but devotees who are serious and who can help us and instruct us in devotional service. So, Devahuti has this great association of her husband. And she served him with great devotion and austerity. She's gone through so many things. And he said, well, I'm going to give you now the greatest thing. He has this love of God. He's going to give